Egypt was not just a place, it was a system. It was a web of manipulation, control, and illusion that kept people trapped even when they thought they were free. To the Israelites, Egypt represented survival at first, a refuge in a time of famine, a place where they could build and thrive. But what started as a lifeline quickly turned into a cage. Egypt became a place of bondage, a cycle of oppression that didn't just trap their bodies, but worked its way into their minds and their spirits. And here's the thing, Egypt is not just an ancient story, it's a reality that so many of us live today. Egypt is every situation that promises security but delivers slavery. It's every environment that feeds off your effort but leaves you depleted. It's every system that keeps you stuck in a cycle of control while convincing you that you need it to survive. So the question is, how long will you stay in your Egypt before you decide to leave? Think about how the Israelites got there. It didn't happen overnight. Egypt offered them a way out of famine, a way to feed their families, and a place to call home when everything else felt unstable. It started with good intentions, comfort, security, but over time, that comfort became complacency and that security became dependency. The pharaohs did not enslave the Israelites all at once. It was a slow erosion of freedom and a gradual tightening of the chains. First, they were guests. Then they were laborers. Then they were slaves. And by the time they realized what had happened, the cycle had already consumed them. And that's how manipulation works. It doesn't rush in like a storm. It creeps in like a shadow, slowly wrapping itself around you until you cannot imagine life without it. Now let me ask you something. What's your Egypt? What's the thing in your life that started out as a blessing but turned into a prison? Is it a job that once gave you purpose but now drains every ounce of energy that you have? Is it a relationship that promised love but now feels like a constant battle for control? Is it a system that promised opportunity but now keeps you spinning your wheels with no way forward? Egypt is not just a physical place. It's a mindset, a pattern, and a cycle that keeps you stuck because leaving feels too risky, too uncomfortable, too unknown. But here's the truth. The longer that you stay in Egypt, the more Egypt takes. The pharaohs of your life, they're not just going to let you walk away. They're going to tighten their grip. They'll convince you that you cannot survive without them. They will manipulate you into believing that leaving Egypt means stepping into chaos, into the wilderness, into failure. And isn't that the greatest lie? The lie that keeps you stuck? Israelites cried out for freedom, but even when Moses came to lead them out, even when the plagues shook the foundation of Egypt, and even when the Red Sea opened before them, they still hesitated. Why? Because leaving Egypt was not just about walking away from a place. It was about breaking a deeply ingrained cycle. Breaking cycles is hard. It's terrifying. Egypt had worked its way into their hearts, minds, and souls. They knew the routines, the rules, the systems. They didn't like it, but they understood it. And that was the pull of Egypt. It convinces you that the devil you know is better than the freedom that you don't know. The Israelites had been in Egypt for 400 years. Think about that. Generations upon generations had lived and died in these cycles. Slavery was not just their condition, it was normal. And when something becomes normal, breaking free can feel impossible. But here's what Egypt does not want you to know. It doesn't have real power. The Pharaoh, while he looked invincible, the systems seemed unbreakable. But when truth showed up, when Moses walked in with nothing but a staff and a word from God, it all started to crumble. The power of Egypt was nothing more than an illusion, and the control was built on fear, manipulation, and lies. And the same is true for the systems and cycles that keep you trapped today. They truly only have as much power as you give them. The moment that you decide to see through the illusion, the moment that you decide to confront the fear and step into the unknown, Egypt starts to lose its grip. But let's be real, leaving Egypt is not easy. The wilderness is no walk in the park. The Israelites, they faced uncertainty, hunger, and battles that they were not prepared for. A lot of times they wanted to go back, and they even criticized Moses. They said, at least in Egypt we had food. Imagine that. Longing for the place that enslaved you just because freedom did not look like what they expected. That's the trick of Egypt. Even when you leave, it tries to call you back. It whispers that you can't handle the wilderness, that the struggles of freedom are worse than the comfort of captivity. Real comfortable, huh? So if you're not careful, you'll believe that, and you'll turn back to the thing that broke you because it feels safer than what you don't know and what you're not familiar with. Here's what the wilderness teaches you, though. Freedom, it's usually not something that comes instant. It's a process. The wilderness is where you unlearn the lies of Egypt and you learn the truth of who you are. It's where you confront the normal habits that you go through in a day, the mindsets, the fears that keep you stuck. It's where you discover that the same God who split the Red Sea can provide the manna in the desert. The wilderness is not punishment, it's preparation. It's the place where you strip away the chains that you didn't even know were attached, that you've been carrying, and you step into the promise waiting for you. So let me ask you this again. What is your Egypt? What's the thing in life that keeps you in a cycle of manipulation and control? What's it going to take for you to leave Egypt? Because the truth is this, Egypt is not going to let you go willingly. You have to decide to walk away, even if that's hard, even if that looks uncertain. Even when it feels like the wilderness is too much to handle, you have to believe that freedom is worth the fight. You have to believe that what's ahead is greater than what you're leaving behind, the chains, but the certainty. So maybe you're in Egypt, maybe you're not. But look at your life right now. Are you stuck? Where are you giving away your power? What's the pharaoh in your life that's convinced you that you cannot survive without? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's comfort, maybe it's the voice in your head that says, this is just the way it is. Let me tell you something. Pharaoh, he's not invincible. Egypt is not unbreakable. The same power that broke the chains of the Israelites is available to you as well. But you have to take the first step. You have to confront the illusion, face the fear, and decide that you're not done living for freedom. You're done living in the cycles of Egypt. In the story of Egypt, it's not just a story of bondage, it's a story of breakthrough. It's a story of what happens when you refuse to settle for less than what you were created for. The Israelites didn't just leave Egypt, they stepped into a promise. They became a people who knew what it meant to fight for freedom, to walk through the wilderness, to walk through the Red Sea, for crying out loud, and to claim the land that was meant for them. And you can too. Your Egypt does not have to define you. The cycles do not have to continue. The control doesn't have to last. But ultimately, the choice is yours and yours alone. Will you stay in Egypt, or will you step into freedom, even if it's uncertain? Will you let the lies keep you bound, or will you confront them and break through? Egypt is going to be calling, but so is your promise. The question is, which phone call are you going to answer? If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button, get a conversation started in the comments, and let me know if you like these style of videos. And if you, thank you very much. God bless. Until next time.